Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravachakachari Statirasita Shishima Jagat Guru Siddha Ananda Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravachakachari Statirasita Shishima. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shivaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopina Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganges Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur's World Mission Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Varanga Gaur Pinanda. Namo Vishnu. Namaste. Om Gyanatemarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshulunmilitam Jena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamaya Dadati Swapadantikam. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual masters have opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who is established within this material world, the mission to fulfill the desires of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter at his lotus feet? Haribol, namaste everyone. So Kayla, this is the one you were asking about, text 17. Haribol Madri, Haribol Royal, Haribol Katrina.
Haribol.
So today we'll be reading from the 8th canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Continuing with the 3rd chapter, text 17, these are prayers offered by Gajendra to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation. Since an animal such as I has surrendered unto you, who are supremely liberated, certainly you will release me from this dangerous position. Indeed, being extremely merciful, you incessantly try to deliver me. By your partial feature as Paramatma, you are situated in the hearts of all embodied beings. You are celebrated as direct transcendental knowledge, and you are unlimited. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we're going to just continue to read the purports, just because they're so amazing. Purport by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The words Brihate Namaste have been explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Brihate Shri Krishnaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna. There are many tattvas, such as Vishnu tattva, Jiva tattva, Shakti tattva. But above everything is the Vishnu tattva, which is all-pervading. This all-pervading feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is explained in Bhagavad Gita 10:42, wherein the Lord says, "But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe." Thus, Krishna says that the entire material world is maintained by his partial representation as Paramatma. The Lord enters every universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and then expands himself as Kshirodakshai Vishnu to enter the hearts of all living entities and even enter into the atoms. Andanta tara starta paramano chayantarashtam. Every universe is full of atoms, and the Lord is not only within the universe, but also within the atoms. Thus, within every atom, the Supreme Lord exists in his Vishnu features, Paramatma. But all the Vishnu tattvas emanate from Krishna, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.2, Aham Adir He Devanam. Krishna is the Adi, or beginning of the Devas of this material world, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvara. Therefore, he is described here as Bhagavate Brihate. Everyone is Bhagavan. Everyone possesses opulence. But Krishna is Brihan Bhagavan, the possessor of unlimited opulence. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the origin of everyone. Aham Sarvasya Prabhava. Even Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshvara come from Krishna. Mata Parataram Nanyat Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya. There is no personality superior to Krishna. Therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Bhagavate Brihate means unto Sri Krishna. In this material world, everyone is a pashu, an animal, because of the bodily conception of life. A human being who identifies the body, made of the three elements, as the self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of his birth to be worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to bathe rather than to meet men of transcendental knowledge there, is to be considered like a cow or an ass. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10.84.13. Practically everyone, therefore, is a pashu, an animal, and everyone is attacked by the crocodile of material existence. Not only the king of the elephants, but every one of us is being attacked by the crocodile and is suffering the consequences. Only Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. Indeed, he is always trying to deliver us. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshyarjana tishtati. He is within our hearts and is not at all inattentive. His only aim is to deliver us from material life. It is not that he becomes attentive to us only when we offer prayers to him. Even before we offer our prayers, he incessantly tries to deliver us. He is never lazy in regard to our deliverance. Therefore, this verse says, Buri Karunyaya Namo Lahaya. It is the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he always tries to bring us back home, back to Godhead. God is liberated, and he tries to make us liberated. But although he is constantly trying, we refuse to accept his instructions. Sarva dharmam parityajya mamekam saranam vraja. Nonetheless, he has not become angry. Therefore, he is described here as Buri Karunaya, unlimitedly merciful in delivering us from the miserable material condition of life and taking us back home, back to God. This is such a wonderful verse. I think we'll read it again. Since an animal such as I has surrendered unto you, who are supremely liberated, certainly you will release me from this dangerous position. Indeed, being extremely merciful, you incessantly try to deliver me. By your partial features, Paramatma, you are situated in the hearts of all embodied beings. You are celebrated as direct transcendental knowledge, and you are unlimited. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vaishnava scriptures the Bhagavad Gita, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Narada Pancharatra. They are unique in the sense that the other Vedic literatures are designed to gradually elevate the conditioned souls to the mode of goodness. And once they're in the mode of goodness, there is the hope that they will become attracted to making a solution to the problems of material conditional existence. So there's all these rules and regulations that are meant to gradually purify the consciousness. There's all these promises of intense sensual pleasure in the heavenly planets with long lifespans, with, beautiful bodies that do not get, practically speaking, sick and don't die for thousands of years. It's all these little carrots, carrot on the stick kind of thing. And then in addition to that, you've got the karma that's coming back as the stick whipping us, trying to encourage us to make a solution to our silly position here in the material world. But the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and even the Bhagavad Gita, especially the 9th chapters and the 18th chapter, goes directly to the heart of who we are, what our real position is, what our real function is, and where our happiness is to really be found. And here we're getting a glimpse into the nature of the relationship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his parts and parcels. And it's one of eternal love. Krishna is not lazy like us. It's stated in the Bhagavatam that in this age of Kali Yuga, people are lazy, unlucky, misguided, and always disturbed. But Krishna and his representatives, they're not under the influence of Kali Yuga. So likewise, the spiritual master, Krishna's representative, is not lazy. And he's determined, he's incessantly working to try to encourage us to take Krishna's hand and return back to the spiritual world, even while still in this material body. You don't have to wait till you leave this body to enter back into the spiritual relationship with Krishna and your spiritual master. All you need to do is give your heart. Krishna says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. He's always there to fulfill our desires. And if our desire is to have a loving relationship with him and Krishna, with Krishna and the spiritual master, that will be granted. Text 18. My Lord, those who are completely freed from material contamination always meditate upon you within the cores of their hearts. You are extremely difficult to attain for those like me who are too attached to mental concoction, home, relatives, friends, money, servants, and assistants. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, uncontaminated by the modes of nature. You are the reservoir of all enlightenment, the Supreme Controller. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes into the material world, he is unaffected by the modes of material nature. This is confirmed in the Ishupanishad. Apapa vidham, he is not contaminated. This same fact is described here. Guna Sangha Viva Drijitara Taya. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears as an incarnation within this material world, he is unaffected by the modes of material nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:11, Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanu ashritam. Foolish men with insufficient knowledge deride the personality of Godhead because he appears just like a human being. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood only by the muktatma, the liberated soul. Mukta mahibi, sava hiridaya, paribhavititaya. Only the liberated person can constantly think of Krishna. Such a person is the greatest of all yogis. Of all yogis, he who abides in me with great faith, worshiping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Bhagavad Gita 6:47. After worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, those who are interested in the four principles of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, obtain from him what they desire. What then is to be said of other benedictions? Indeed, sometimes the Lord gives a spiritual body to such ambitious worshippers. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unlimitedly merciful, bestow upon me the benediction of liberation from this present danger and from the materialistic way of life. Purport. Some men within this material world are akami, free from material desire. Some are ambitious to get more and more material profit, and some desire fulfillment in religious life, economic development, sense gratification, and finally, liberation. It is recommended that whatever one's position, whether one demands no material profit, all material profit, or ultimately liberation, one should offer his obedient devotional service to the Lord, and one will get what he desires. Krishna is so kind. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tatataiva bhajanti aham. The Lord reciprocates. Whatever even an ordinary living entity wants, Krishna gives. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and he gives that which is desired by the living entity. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Bhagavad Gita 1861. The Lord gives everyone an opportunity to fulfill his ambitions. Even such a devotee as Dhruva Maharaj wanted the material benediction of a kingdom greater than that of his father. Although he received a spiritual body, he also got the kingdom. For the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not disappoint anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Therefore, since Gajendra, king of the elephants, had surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to get free from the present danger, and, indirectly, from the present danger of materialistic life, why should the Supreme Personality of Godhead not fulfill his desire? So if you remember when Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest to try to find Vishnu to get the benediction of a kingdom greater than his father, and even his grandfather, who happened to be Lord Brahma. He was very determined, and within a very short time, Krishna appeared to fulfill his desires. But when Dhruva Maharaj actually saw Krishna appear before him, he was embarrassed by his material desires. And he condemned himself, saying, here I am. have this opportunity to render service directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet I've come here with such petty desires. And he was actually a little bit disappointed that Krishna granted those desires. He had to stay another 36,000 years to administer the kingdom that he got. But he did get to go back. And that's the beauty of it too, is that when one actually is resituated in that position of offering pure devotional service to Krishna, the devotee no longer cares where he is, what his situation is. It's like we were discussing, I think a couple of weeks ago, how that conversation went between Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Siddha Swarupananda Prabhupada. When Bhaktivedanta was having them read the translation of the Sri Guru prayers. And there's that line that has been translated, and we say that attachment to your lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was pointing out that that's not actually the most accurate translation. Because the pure devotee has no desire. As soon as there is desire, there's anxiety. Right? Because as soon as you want something, you're in anxiety. Am I going to get it? And then once you get it, you're in anxiety. Am I going to be able to keep it? And then once you've lost it, you're in anxiety and your lamentation, state of lamentation. So as long as there's a desire, then one is not peaceful. One is not truly situated in transcendence. The pure devotee, his only existence is to serve. That's the constitutional nature of the spirit soul, is to be rendering loving service to Krishna. It's not even like you have to desire it separately, right? It's your nature. It's you. You are service to Krishna. It's not like you have to conjure up from somewhere externally this desire to serve Krishna, this desire to serve Srila Prabhupada, this desire to serve Lord Chaitanya. No, when we actually reach the transcendental position, that is our nature. That is us, service to Krishna. And so he didn't bother to change the words, right? We still use that same translation. But it's nice ever since I read that, every time we chant the Shri Guru prayers and I meditate on that, how realizing how far away I am from that condition of consciousness.
Is that conversation transcribed somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I can post it in our Śrīmad Bhāgavatam chat if you like.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be really awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it was fun to read it, because there was just a few. It happened in Honolulu when Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was visiting Hawaii, and there were just a few disciples, and he was seeing some disciples up in his room. And so it was nice. He kind of reminds me of the pastime of Lord Chaitanya when he first met Ramananda Roy, and he kept asking Ramananda Roy questions, and Ramananda Roy was giving all these answers, and even he didn't know but so it was like that. Siddha Swarup was giving this nice insights into the translation, on the prompting of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Text 20 through 21. Unalloyed devotees who have no desire other than to serve the Lord. Where have we heard that before? Unalloyed devotees who have no desire other than to serve the Lord, worship him in full surrender, and always hear and chant about his activities, which are most wonderful and auspicious. Thus, they always merge in an ocean of transcendental bliss. Such devotees never ask the Lord for any benediction. I, however, am in danger. Thus I pray to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally existing, who is invisible, who is the Lord of all great personalities such as Brahma, and who is available only by transcendental bhakti yoga. Being extremely subtle, he is beyond the reach of my senses and transcendental to all external realization. He is unlimited, he is the original cause, and he is completely full in everything. I offer my obeisances unto him. Purport. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. Unalloyed devotees have nothing to ask from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Gajendra, the king of the elephants, was circumstantially asking for an immediate benediction because he had no other way to be rescued. Sometimes, when there is no alternative, a pure devotee, being fully dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, prays for some benediction. But in such a prayer, there is also regret. One who always hears and chants about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord is always situated on the platform which he has nothing to ask in terms of material benefits. Unless one is a completely pure devotee, one cannot enjoy the transcendental bliss derived from chanting and dancing in ecstasy, in the ecstasy of the Sankirtan movement. Such ecstasy is not possible for an ordinary devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed us how one can enjoy transcendental bliss simply by chanting, hearing, and dancing in ecstasy. This is bhakti yoga. Therefore, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, said, Adhyatmika yoga gayam, indicating that unless one is situated on this transcendental platform, one cannot approach the Supreme Lord. The benediction of being able to approach the Lord can be achieved after many, many births. Yet, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has awarded this benediction to everyone, even to the fallen souls who have no heritage of anything in spiritual life. That is actually being seen in the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, the path of bhakti yoga is the spotless process by which to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaktyaham ekaya grehaya. Only through devotional service can one approach the Supreme Lord. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 7:1, Now hear, O son of Pritha, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Simply by being attached to Krishna consciousness and by thinking of the lotus feet of Krishna constantly, one can fully understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead without a doubt. It's kind of like, reminds me of the pastime of when Haridas Thakur wanted to leave the world before Lord Chaitanya did. And he was asking Lord Chaitanya's permission to leave. And Lord Chaitanya said, Haridas, Krishna is so merciful, he will surely fulfill any desire that you may have. He said, but the only, whatever happiness I have in this world is simply due to your association. How can you go and leave me here alone like that? And Haridas says, my dear Lord, please do not make an illusion. I'm just an imitation devotee. There are thousands of devotees who are qualified to sit on my head. He said, but even though I am no more significant than an ant, and what is the loss to the material world if an ant dies? It is my desire to hold your lotus feet on my heart and gazing at your face, chanting the holy name, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, I desire to leave this world. And even though I have no right to ask anything of you, I still expect you to grant this to me. This is the relationship with the devotee, between devotee and Krishna. The devotee is completely dependent on Krishna. Therefore, he has no one else to ask for anything. And because we are persons who have personalities, we have these transcendental desires. And then, of course, Lord Chaitanya came the next day and granted his desire. Text 24. The Supreme Personality of Godhead creates his minor parts and parcels, the Jiva Tattva, beginning with Lord Brahma, the demigods, and the expansions of Vedic knowledge, Sama, Rig, Yajur, and Artha, and including all other living entities, moving and non-moving, with their different names and characteristics. As the sparks of a fire or the shining rays of the sun emanate from their source and merge into it again and again, the mind, the intelligence, the senses, the gross and subtle material bodies, and the continuous transformations of the different modes of nature all emanate from the Lord and again merge into him. He is neither demigod nor demon, neither human nor bird or beast. He is not woman, man, or neuter, nor is he animal. He is not a material quality, a fruit of activity, a manifestation, or a non-manifestation. He is the last word in the discrimination of not this, and he is unlimited. All glories to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. This is a summary description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's unlimited potency. That Supreme One is acting in different phases by manifesting his parts and parcels, which are all simultaneously differently situated by his different potencies. Each and every potency is acting quite naturally. Therefore, the Lord is unlimited. Nothing is equal to him, nor is anything greater than him. Although he manifests himself in so many ways, personally he has nothing to do, for everything is done by expansions of his unlimited energies. So it's explained in the Krishna book, in the pastime of the killing of the Nukasura, that Krishna has one job, and that's to enjoy the relationships with his parts and parcels. And so when there's a need for doing anything other than that, whether it's creating, maintaining, annihilating the material world, or killing miscreants and demons, this is all done by one of his expansions. One of the expansions of actually Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram is the first expansion of Krishna. He's the service, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, servitude. And he serves Krishna in so many ways. And one of the ways that he serves Krishna is that he creates all these different expansions and incarnations to take care of the details of the material world. So Krishna doesn't have anything else to do but enjoy loving exchanges with his devotees. "25. I do not wish to live anymore after I'm released from the attack of the crocodile. What is the use of an elephant's body covered externally and internally by ignorance? I simply desire eternal liberation from the covering of ignorance. That covering is not destroyed by the influence of time." Purport. In this material world, every living entity is covered by the darkness of ignorance. Therefore, the Vedas enjoin that one should approach the Supreme Lord through the spiritual master, who is described in offered prayers in the Gautamiya Tantra as follows. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshulun Militam Jena Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who with the torchlight of knowledge has opened my eyes, which are blinded by the darkness of ignorance. Although one may struggle for existence in this material world, to live forever is impossible. One must understand, however, that this struggle for existence is due to ignorance, for otherwise every living being is an eternal part of the Supreme Lord. There is no need to live as an elephant or a man, American or Indian. One should desire only to achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Because of ignorance, we consider every life offered by nature to be happy and pleasing. But in the degraded life within this material world, from the life of Lord Brahma down to that of an ant, no one can actually be happy. We are making so many plans to live happily, but there cannot be any happiness in this material world. However, we may try to make a permanent settlement in this life, or that. One must understand, however, that this struggle for existence is due to ignorance. For otherwise, every living entity is an eternal part of the Supreme Lord. So, if anyone ever tells you you're ignorant, you should not feel offended. Anyone who has a material body, Bhaktivedanta Swami Baba stated that the fact that you have a material body is proof positive that you are fool number one. So we have nothing to be proud about. 27. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme.
Did you skip 26, I think?
Did I? I think
so.
we did. Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
26. Now, fully desiring release from material life, I offer my respectful obeisances unto that Supreme Person, who is the creator of the universe, who is himself the form of the universe, and who is nonetheless transcendental to this cosmic manifestation. He is the supreme knower of everything in this world, the supersoul of the universe. He is the unborn, supremely situated Lord. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. Sometimes, when bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, is preached to the common man, people argue, where is Krishna? Where is God? Can you show him to us? In this verse, the answer is given, that if we are sufficiently intelligent, we must know that there is someone who has created the entire cosmic manifestation, who is supplied and has become the ingredients for this cosmic manifestation, who is eternally existing, but who is not within the cosmic manifestation. Simply on the basis of this suggestion, one can offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord. This is the beginning of devotional life. Isn't that a nice approach to helping people to begin to open their heart to Krishna? Just simply pointing out, you know, and there's all this stuff here. Where'd it come from, right? Did you make it? You didn't make it? I didn't make it.
Had
I
to
don't
come
think
from
Aaron made it
somewhere.
either. Huh? Right?
Had to come from somewhere.
It had to come from somewhere. Yet the material scientists, because it blows their whole scene, they just totally sweep that under the rug. Right? You ask them, well, where did all this stuff come from? You're talking about this Big Bang situation. You're talking about this primordial soup. You're talking about all these different things happening, all these interactions between these different elements of the material nature. Where did all these elements come from? And they simply shrug and say, it's impossible to know that. Therefore, we don't consider it important.
When I very first started chanting, somebody gave me Drsya Krsna Das's book, The Quest, and it was way over my head. But one thing that I did get out of it was he said it's like a clock, and then you have all these pieces and you make it all works together, but who made the clock?
Right.
Somebody had to make it. And that's basically all I remember from the quest. But it's a really important one.
Yeah. I mean, you take the human body, and it's just so complex and it's so incredible that even the most advanced doctors don't understand 90% of what's going on. They're just now starting to realize that nutrition plays an important part of your health and stuff like that. And it's not good to eat a bunch of pesticides and but so the body's so incredible, but they say where to come from, which just happened, right? It just by chance, these different interactions, this happened and then this survival of the fittest, kind of thing, and it all just evolved that way. But that doesn't explain at all why is there a survival of the fittest? Why is life trying to survive? First off, and what is this life came into process.
What is life?
Well, they don't even go there, right?
Yeah.
But it's so I used to talk to people and say, it's like you're walking through this field and all of a sudden there's a 747 sitting there. This huge jet that's 300 feet long and, got this huge wingspan. And they ask, where did that come from? Oh, it just happened. This big earthquake happened or whatever, and everything got shook up, and this is what came out of it, right? They wouldn't believe you. They think, oh no, this must have been engineered by somebody. But they don't accept that someone engineered the universe. And it's only because of their envy, right? It's the only explanation for it. Okay, 27. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, the Super Soul, the Master of all mystic yoga, who is seen in the core of the heart by perfect mystics when they are completely purified and free from the reactions of fruitive activity by practicing bhakti yoga. Report. The king of the elephants, Gajendra, simply accepted that there must be someone who has created this cosmic manifestation and has supplied its ingredients. This should be admitted by everyone, even the most determined atheist. Why then do the non-devotees and atheists not admit this? The reason is that they are polluted by the reactions of their fruitive activities. One must be freed from all the dirt accumulated within the heart due to fruitive activities performed one after another. One must wash off this dirt by practicing bhakti yoga. Yoga randhita karmanaha. As long as one is covered by material nature's modes of ignorance and passion, there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Lord. Tara rajanas guma bhavana kama labha dadayas chaye. When one is freed from the modes of ignorance and passion, one becomes free from the lowest qualities, kama and lobha, lust and greed. Nowadays, there are so many yoga schools to encourage people in developing their lusty desires and greed through the practice of yoga. People are therefore very much fond of so-called yoga practice. The actual practice of yoga, however, is described here. As authoritatively stated in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 12.13.1, Dhyana vishtishta tad gatena manasya pashyanti yad yogina. A yogi is one who always meditates on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in the Brahma Samhita 5.38. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shama Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their hearts of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. The bhakti yogi constantly sees Shama Sundar, beautiful Lord Krishna with his blackish bodily hue. Because the king of the elephants, Gajendra, thought himself to be an ordinary animal, he thought himself unfit to see the Lord. In his humility, he thought that he could not practice yoga. In other words, how can those who are like animals in the bodily concept of life and who have no purity of consciousness practice yoga? In the present day, people who have no control over their senses, who have no understanding of philosophy, and who do not follow religious principles or rules and regulations, are nonetheless pretending to be yogis. This is the greatest anomaly in the practice of mystic yoga. So, of course, these are very good questions. How is it that Gajendra in the body of an elephant is able to offer such wonderful prayers and how to have these conceptions of the transcendental nature of Krishna and our relationship with him? You have to wait till the next chapter to find out. 28. O my Lord, you are the controller of formidable strength in three kinds of energy. You appear as the reservoir of all sense pleasure and the protector of the surrendered souls. You possess unlimited energy, but you are unapproachable by those who are unable to control their senses. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Report. Attachment, greed, and lust are the three formidable forces that prevent one from concentrating upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. These forces act because the Supreme Lord does not like to be realized by non-devotees and atheists. However, when one surrenders under the lotus feet of the Lord, these impediments are withdrawn, and one can realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord is the protector of the surrendered soul. One cannot become a devotee until one surrenders under the Lord's lotus feet. Then the Lord gives one the intelligence from within, by which one can return home back to Godhead. So this is a very nice point that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada brings up in the purport. These forces act because the Supreme Lord does not like to be realized by non-devotees and atheists. So why is that? Why does Krishna not like to be realized by non-devotees and atheists?
He's shy.
Right, you're both right. He's shy, and he's only interested in, these loving exchanges. He's the supreme enjoyer. And the only enjoyable experience is loving exchanges between Krishna and his parts and parcels. And therefore, if you're not in that relationship, then it's just a bummer for Krishna. And Krishna is not to be on a bummer, so you're not allowed in, right? It's like you don't get invited to the party if you're just going to be a nuisance, right? So we have to stop being nuisances, and then we can get invited back into the party. One cannot become a devotee until one surrenders unto the Lord's lotus feet. Then the Lord gives one the intelligence from within by which one can return home back to Godhead. So Krishna gives from within and from without. From without is the spiritual master, from the Shastras like the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We're getting all this information. We simply have to come to that point. See, Gajendra was, I think, we talked about this last week, or the last talk about how everything is a benediction that Krishna does. Yeah. Everything Krishna's devotees do is for the benefit of all living entities. And when Prabhupada signs his letters, he's your ever well-wisher. He's Krishna's representative. Krishna is also our ever well-wisher. So even though one can wonder, why is Gajendra in this situation? He's had this crocodile locked on his leg for 1,000 years and struggling to get out of it, right? Why is this happening? Because that's what it took, right? That's what it took to bring him to that spot where he could fully surrender. So when something goes wrong in your life, and it will, what are we just reading? Oh, I'm sorry. We're reading the next chapter ahead of you guys, and it talks about how Gajendra was a very nice devotee in his previous life, King Indradumna, and he got cursed by this sage to become an elephant because he was not received properly well, because Indradumna was in ecstasy meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. And so when Indradumna got that curse, he wasn't disturbed, right? Just like we see the same thing with Maharaj Parikshit. When he was cursed by the immature Brahmin boy, Kali Yuga, the beginning of Kali Yuga, to be killed for insulting his father. He could have done all kinds of things to try to protect himself or try to counteract the curse, but he simply accepted it as Krishna's mercy. So these are all examples for us to follow. And when we see these so-called adversities in our life, these are just all things that Krishna has put there to help us realize that we're not going to be happy until we actually surrender into his lotus feet. 20, where are we?
29.
29, yeah. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose illusory energy, the Jiva, who is part and parcel of God, forgets his real identity because of the bodily concept of life. I take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose glories are difficult to understand. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, every living entity, regardless of whether he be human, demigod, animal, bird, bee, or whatever, is part and parcel of Krishna, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord and the living entity are intimately related like father and son. Unfortunately, because of material contact, the living entity forgets this and wants to enjoy the material world independently, according to his own plan. This illusion, Maya, is very difficult to surmount. Maya covers the living entity because of his willingness to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead and make his own plan to enjoy the material world. I'll read that sentence again. Maya covers the living entity because of his willingness to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead and make his own plan to enjoy this material world. So it's only because we desire to forget Krishna that we are put under Maya. As long as this contamination continues, the conditioned soul will be unable to understand his real identity and will perpetually continue life after life. Ato griha kshetra stupata vitata janasya maho yaham aham mameti Bhagavatam 5:5-8. As long as the living entity is not enlightened so that he may understand his real position, he will be attached to materialistic life, to house, country, or field, to society, sons, family, community, bank balance, and so on. Covered by all this, he will continue to think, I am this body, and everything related to this body is mine. This materialistic conception of life is extremely difficult to surmount. But one who surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Gajendra did, the king of the elephants, comes to enlightenment on the Brahman platform. One who is transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed toward all living entities. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Bhagavad Gita 1854. Since a devotee is completely on the Brahman platform, he is not jealous of any other living entity. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. When, oh when, will that day be mine, right? Ah, Krishna. Text 30. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, when the king of the elephants was describing the supreme authority without mentioning any particular person, he did not invoke the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, and Chandra. Thus, none of them approached him. However, because Lord Hari is the Supersoul, Purushottam, the personality of Godhead, he appeared before Gajendra. Purport. From the description of Gajendra, he apparently was aiming at the supreme authority, although he did not know who the supreme authority is. He conjectured, there is a supreme authority who is above everything. Under the circumstances, the Lord's various expansions, such as Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Chandra, and Indra, all thought, Gajendra is not asking for our help. He's asking for the help of the Supreme, who is above all of us. As Gajendra has described, the Supreme Lord has various parts and parcels, including the demigods, human beings, and animals, all covered by separate forms. Although the demigods are in charge of maintaining different aspects of the universe, Gajendra thought that they were unable to rescue him. Harim vina naivai matim taranti. No one can rescue anyone from the dangers of birth, death, old age, and disease. It is only the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can rescue one from the dangers of material existence. Therefore, an intelligent person, to get free from this dangerous existence, approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not any demigod. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:20. Go ahead.
Oh, that's weird. I thought it was muted, but my voice is coming too strange. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just thought I'd turned too many pages and was making sure I was in the right spot. And then you started reading it. I thought, okay, that's where we're supposed to be. Kaimais taistya rita jnana prapadyantani naya devataha. Those who are unintelligent approach the various demigods for temporary material benefits. Actually, however, these demigods cannot rescue the living entity from the dangers of material existence. Like other living entities, the demigods are merely external parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's transcendental body. As stated in the Vedic mantras, Sātma Anani Anya Devataha. Within the body is the Atma, the soul, whereas the various parts of the body, like the hands and legs, are external. Similarly, the Atma of the entire cosmic manifestation is Narayan, Lord Vishnu, and all the demigods, human beings, and other living entities are parts of his body. It may also be concluded that since a tree lives on the strength of its root, and when the root is nourished with water, all the parts of the tree are nourished, one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the original root of everything. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very difficult to approach, he is very near to us because he lives within our hearts. As soon as the Lord understands that one is seeking his favor by fully surrendering, naturally, he immediately takes action. Therefore, although the demigods did not come to the aid of Gajendra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead immediately appeared before him because of his fervent prayer. This does not mean that the demigods were angry with Gajendra, for actually, when Lord Vishnu is worshipped, all the other demigods are also worshipped. Yajman tushte jagat tushtam. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. As pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs, and everything else, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, so simply by worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead through devotional service automatically satisfies the demigods who are parts of that Supreme Personality. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 4:31-14. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped, all the demigods are satisfied. 31. After understanding the awkward condition of Gajendra, who had offered his prayers, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who lives everywhere, appeared with the demigods who were offering prayers to him. Carrying his disc and other weapons, he appeared there on the back of his carrier, Garuda, with great speed, according to his desire. Thus he appeared before Gajendra. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically hints that since Gajendra was in such a difficult position, he was praying for the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demigods, who could have immediately gone to his rescue, hesitated to go there. Since they considered Gajendra's prayer to be directed toward the Lord, they felt offended, and this in itself was offensive. Consequently, when the Lord went there, they also went there and offered prayers to the Lord so that their offense might be excused. This is one of the aspects of transcendental relationships. You guys ever watch the Olympics? Right? There's all these amazing, huh?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, right? I mean, you see.
Kayla says no.
There's just these athletes just doing these amazing physical feats, compared to what you or I could do, right? They're doing pole vaulting, they're doing ice skating, they're doing gymnastics, they're doing skiing, they're doing swimming, just at these incredible rates, like the diving from the 10-meter platform and all this kind of stuff. You watch it and you go, wow, that was incredible. And it looks flawless to you, right? But they've got these judges there who are looking at things on a completely different level, right? They're used, this is the caliber of things that they're used to seeing. And they're over there and they're finding this fault and that fault and that fault and that fault, right? To us, it's just incredible. But to these guys who have very trained eyes, they see all these little discrepancies. So likewise, the relationships in the spiritual world are so incredible. They're so subtle. They're so nuanced that one often feels that he's committing some offense, which to us seems like nothing, right? Because we're so crude and crass and low-born that we have no concept of it, right? So the demigods, they were feeling a little bit offended that Gajendra didn't ask them for help first. And so then they're realizing, oops, this guy's taking shelter of Vishnu directly, we shouldn't, so they actually felt that they had committed an offense towards Vishnu by being a little bit offended that Gajendra didn't approach them, because, hey, yeah, we could have done that. I can kill a crocodile. Give me a break, But instead, Gajendra didn't turn to them. He wanted more. He wanted to make a complete solution to his problems. He was actually very intelligent, wanted to actually get free from all material impediments, not just this thing with the crocodile. So the demigods thought, oops, we committed an offense. We need to go and Vishnu's going to be there to take this opportunity to go and offer him obeisances and apologize too, so we become freed from our offense. So thinking that we could have done what he's coming to do. (32) Gajendra had been forcefully captured by the crocodile in the water and was feeling acute pain. But when he saw that Narayan, wielding his disc, was coming in the sky on the back of Garuda, he immediately took a lotus flower in his trunk, and with great difficulty, due to his painful condition, he uttered the following words: O my Lord Narayan, Master of the universe, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. The king of the elephants was so eager to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead that when he saw the Lord coming in the sky with great pain and in a feeble voice, he offered respect to the Lord. A devotee does not consider a dangerous position to be dangerous, for in such a dangerous position, he can fervently pray to the Lord in great ecstasy. Thus, a devotee regards danger as a good opportunity. When a devotee is in great danger, he sees that danger to be the great mercy of the Lord, because it is an opportunity to think of the Lord very sincerely and with undiverted attention. Tate nukapatam sashushamish gamano Bunanjana Evatma Kritam Vipakam. Bhagavatam 10:14-8. He does not accuse the Supreme Personality of Godhead for having let his devotee fall into a dangerous condition. Rather, he considers that dangerous condition to be due to his past misdeeds and takes it as an opportunity to pray to the Lord and offer thanks for having been given such an opportunity. When a devotee lives in this way, his salvation, his going back home, back to Godhead, is guaranteed. We can see this to be true from the example of Gajendra, who anxiously prayed to the Lord and thus received an immediate chance to return home back to Godhead. Text 33. Thereafter, seeing Gajendra in such an aggrieved position, the unborn Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, immediately got down from the back of Garuda by his causeless mercy and pulled the king of the elephants, along with the crocodile, out of the water. Then, in the presence of all the demigods who were looking on, the Lord severed the crocodile's mouth from his body with his disc. In this way, he saved Gajendra, the king of the elephants. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 8th canto, 3rd chapter of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam entitled Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. Haribol.
Haribol.
So next week, the wonderful story of Gajendra returns to the spiritual world. And there's some wonderful benedictions offered in there as well that we can take advantage of.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone have anything they want to add or comment on?
You know, I wanted to say that I've heard that in other ages, you can commit sins simply by thinking of them. But in the Kali Yuga, you know, since we're already so degraded, you know, just thinking of things is not an offense necessarily.
Right. We're giving that concession.
It reminded me of the discussion about the demigods, you know, committing an offense by feeling offended.
Yeah. Well, we also have the wonderful example of Madhavendra Puri when he was going from Vrindavan to Jagannath Puri to get the sandalwood to bring it back because the deity had been buried for so long, was so hot, right? And he stopped at Ramuna, was that the name of that town where Shira Gopinath was?
Sounds right.
And so he heard about this wonderful preparation, the sweet rice preparation that was offered to the deity. And he thought, oh, if somehow or other, without asking, I'm given a little bit of it, that sweet rice to taste, maybe I can figure out how to make it for my deity. And then he immediately considered, oh, I've committed an offense because I'm thinking of eating the sweet rice before it's even offered now. And so he was very embarrassed. And so he left the temple and went to the marketplace and slept in the empty marketplace with the idea that he'd leave as soon as it got light to continue on his journey. But Krishna was so pleased with Madhavendra Puri that he stole the sweet rice and woke up the Pujari and had him come take this to Madhavendra Puri. Give it to him so he'll know how to make it for his deity next time. You know? So yeah.
Haribol?
Yeah.
I believe in that same verse. Why am I echoing? In that same verse, I believe it said that even good wishes come true, so that we should wish everyone well and pray for them, because in Kali Yuga, that's the other side of that benediction.
That's nice. And the other thing is too, we have to, even though we're not necessarily held directly accountable for offenses of the mind, it's like that nice lecture Srila Prabhupada gave about how you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can keep him from building a nest there. If we're not constantly recognizing these thoughts and ideas and attractions that we have that are keeping us away from Krishna and trying to actively root them out, they will build a nest. So we have to, just like Krishna's not lazy and he's always trying to work to bring us back, we also have to not be lazy and clean the cobwebs out and do our sadhana bhakti to purify our consciousness on a regular basis.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say that it's okay.
No,
to
I
have
know
bad
that.
thoughts.
It just reminded me of those.
Yeah.
Just, it's kind of like one of the wonderful aspects of bhakti yoga, as it differs from most people's conception of Christianity, is, Christianity as it's practiced today, and not as it was taught by Jesus, but as it's practiced today, is basically focused on salvationism, trying to get some kind of benediction through the sacrifice of Lord Jesus, or by declaring allegiance to, anyway, getting some usually material kind of benefit, either salvationism or whatever. And it's always you may perform certain sacrifices and austerities at this time, but it's with the idea of enjoying later. But the wonderful thing about bhakti yoga is that the practice is sadhana bhakti yoga, but just you don't have to wait till you leave this body to enjoy the bliss of having a loving relationship with Krishna. It's not like you have to, as soon as you surrender, as soon as you actually start rendering actual devotional service, you start to experience the happiness of the spiritual world. So it's to our benefit to get there as quickly as possible. We may still be in this body, but the pure devotees also live in a material body. Doesn't mean they're suffering the way we are. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Jaya Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Jaya Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Jaya Jaya Guru Haribo.